Breaking news! The Vatican has placed Texas Bishop Joseph Strickland under investigation after leading that prayer march against the LA Dodgers last week. Oh no. The most important election ever is going to be November 5th, 2024. We're going to have to stand up against the Marxists, the communists, the fascists, the globalists, and we are going to win. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for joining me. We have so much to get to. I am live in studio on Facebook and on YouTube. What are we running through 6 a.m. this morning? Well, first, I've got this really woke HARDO Demi Lovato. Do you guys know who Demi Lovato is? She's woke and she releases this really HARDO new pro-abortion anthem for all the birthing people of America. And she's the one who says birthing people of America. Folks, she said that she dropped this new song for them, the birthing people. I'm assuming she means women. So we're going to take a listen to that. And she just released this very disturbing music video out there, Demi Lovato. And then to kind of cleanse the palate, the new Focus on the Family pro-life ad is hysterical yet profound. It's an organization, they're faith-based, and they're called Focus on the Family, and they're a pro-life organization. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because on Saturday, just a few days ago, it was the anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So this is why Demi Lovato released this new song. But to counter that, we do have really awesome pro-life groups out there like Focus on the Family, who release these really incredible ads. It's hysterical, it's funny, but yet it's deep. And I'm going to play it here for us. It's just 1 minute. And then a little bit later, I've got some reactions here. Fox News at the top of the hour. We've got Tony Blinken saying that this whole thing with Prigozhin and the Wagner Group, Wagner Group in Russia. My Russian is very terrible. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to subject you to this. But I watched it all weekend. I was just like eyes glued to Twitter and I was watching it unfold. And I'm going to share my view on the actions by Prigozhin, is the guy who led this mutiny, this insurrection, and tried to dethrone Russia, which didn't happen, folks. I don't think that happened at all. And this was the most lame attempt of a coup d'etat I have ever seen. And I have a view on this, and I also have a theory. So they haven't arrested or killed, they haven't terminated Prigozhin yet, or anything like that. And that leads me to believe that my theory could probably be correct. So I've got my tinfoil hat on in studio this morning. So we are going to be getting into all of that here on the Morning Buzz. And as always, I'm here live in studio so you can see me. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into it. So, first, Saturday, like I said, was the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court being on the right side of history and overturning Roe v. Wade. Very exciting stuff. And if you're this pro-abortion, if you live in these pro-abortion states like Illinois, like New York, like California, sadly, nothing really ever changed for you after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Basically, the overturning of Roe v. Wade gives the power to the states. There are still some birthing people who have yet to calm down about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It happened over a year ago, right? So top of the list of people who haven't calmed down about the overturning of Roe v. Wade is the woke HARDO Demi Lovato. So Demi Lovato, she creates this new pro-abortion anthem, and it's called, and I'm not kidding, Swine. Swine as in the pig, right? Swine. So don't look at me. That's what she titled it. And she also was the one who said that she's doing it for, quote, and I'm quoting her here, all the birthing people. Now, she only shared 16 seconds of this. This is the reason why she probably only shared 16 seconds of this is because it's even unbearable for her to watch. So here we go on the live stream. We're going to watch it and you guys are going to hear it. And I'm just praying for this woman. This woman is clearly disturbed. She's got some issues. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
My life, my life, my life, my noise, it's mine. I'm just my life, my life, my.
That was like a lot of like, I don't know, guitar. It was really hardo, real like heavy metal stuff. So she put this out on her Twitter page and she says this about the song, quote, "It's been 1 year since the Supreme Court's decision to dismantle the constitutional right to have a safe abortion," says Lovato on Twitter, showing complete ignorance, right? She's completely ignorant of the Supreme Court, the Constitution, Roe v. Wade. That's not what Roe v. does. All it does is say, because here in the state of Illinois, right, you can still go get an abortion at 9 months. You can clobber it in the head, essentially, right? You can go get an abortion here in the state of Illinois. It does not dismantle your constitutional right. The Constitution has nowhere in it the right to an abortion. Okay. And she's just completely ignorant. Quote, "I want this song to empower not only the birthing people of this country, but everyone who stands up for equality, to embrace their agency and fight for a world where every person's right to make decisions about their own body is honored." She's just so exhausting, this Lovato woman. She shared 16 seconds of this. And look, I'm sure it's gonna be a hit on TikTok or in these half-empty WNBA games, right? I'm sure there'll be a hit there on TikTok, and you've got all the liberals, using the sound, and she only shared 16 seconds of it, but, I'm gonna talk about the verse here. There's a verse here that's truly disturbing, and I'm gonna do my best to make it PG for you because it's riddled with all kinds of profanities. And, I love this is where it truly shines. The song here just truly shines here, where she says, "God forbid I want to suck whatever the bleep I wanna." God forbid I want to bleep whoever I want to bleep. I want to, if he bleeps, I got to be a mother. So I know there's a lot of bleeps in there and it's kind of hard to understand the context. Just know that it's disgusting. Um, like what? Wow. Now everyone sing along with me. The chorus. Let's sing the chorus. Quote, "My blood, my loins, my lungs, my noise, or my noise. Yeah, my lungs, my noise. It's mine, or I'm just swine." And this is talent. This is art. I I don't get it. Demi Lovato was known for pop hits like "Confident," "Cool for the Summer," "Heart Attack." Then her career started to flop, and then she decided that she was going to go by the pronouns they, them, and that she was non-binary in 2021. So in 2022, they decided that them was really a she, her, though still gender fluid. And then in 2023, she explained that being they, them was too difficult. So they went back to being she, her. See what this is like mental gymnastics. It's so hard to deal with these people. Um, but in good news, right? I do want to share some good news with you when it comes to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Saturday, like I said, marked the 1 year anniversary of Dobbs versus Jackson Supreme Court ruling, which overturned Roe v. Wade, 1973, and it claimed that there was a constitutional right to abortion. That's just not true. Okay, there is no constitutional right to abortion, and that's what the overturning of Roe v. Wade found, this Dobbs versus Jackson Supreme Court ruling. So, a faith based organization to try to cleanse our palate from Demi Lovato here, they're called Focus on the Family, and they dropped this very powerful 1 minute video that just perfectly encapsulates encapsulated this these hypocrites. That it perfectly sums it up, the hypocrites in the abortion crowd. And the way this ad does this is by illustrating how they celebrate life when it's convenient. It's amazing how many liberals I know who have children and they love their children, right? They act like they love their children, but they really don't love children, right? If they're for killing a baby at 9 months. But they only celebrate life when it's convenient to them. And when it's not, suddenly the baby to be becomes a fetus. So the ad is titled "It's a Baby," and it's actually quite funny. And I love this. I love this ad. It's very good. Uh, and it's deep. It starts with a worried looking man, right? He's worried and he looks up at this young woman who emerges from the bathroom and she's bursting with excitement and she says, "It's positive." Right? So she gets the pregnancy test, then here comes the zinger. We're having a fetus. So let's take a listen to the uh, commercial here. For the anniversary, it was on Saturday of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This is a really good one. Here we go.
We're having a fetus.
Having a fetus.
We're having a fetus.
And here we are.
Would you look at that?
Hi, fetus.
Hey, got names yet?
For the fetus? We've got a few we like.
Focus on the Family would like to remind you that no matter where you are on your pregnancy journey,
It's almost here. Keep pushing. Your fetus is doing great.
call it what you want. But the truth does not change.
You want to feel the fetus kick?
It's a baby.
It's still a baby.
That's awesome. So that was done by Focus on the Family. And oh man, it's just so good. There's some scenes that include a pregnant woman who has a fetus on board t-shirt, and then there's two men, they're on a jog, right? And the one guy looks at the other guy and says, "Hey, do you have a possible name yet?" And then he goes, "For oh, the fetus?" And then there's this grandmother. She opens up a card and it reads, "We're having a fetus." And finally, at the end, there's this little girl who is with her mom and her dad, it looks like. And the mom looks at the little girl and says, "Do you want to feel the fetus kick?" And the girl comes over, feels the fetus, and then she goes, "It's a baby." And then the parents look shocked at the announcement that it's a baby, as if that had never come, uh, uh, it had never been truly a thought of theirs. So the reason why this ad works so well is because it illustrates the mental gymnastics abortion supporters have to go through to justify their views. Anyone who's had a child or has been close to have a child, or anybody who has dealt with somebody having a child in their life, which is most likely everyone, right? Because you were in fact born, right? You have gone through it, right? So here's the drill. There's the excitement of the pregnancy, and then next there's seeing the unborn baby on the ultrasound, and then there's the celebration of the birth. I mean, we have birthday celebrations. You, me, we all have birthday celebrations every year. And we have these celebratory cards and parties, and it's all about celebrating new life and the joy it brings to parents, relatives, and pretty much everyone. Okay. And that all goes out the window as soon as the baby isn't wanted. Then suddenly, all of a suddenly, it becomes a fetus. It means nothing. It's expendable, worthless, a burden. But in yet both cases, the baby to be is in an essence the same. It's the same thing in both situations. The only thing that changes is the desire of the adults in the situation, and in these two scenarios. So it's a fetus when it's not wanted, and when your desires aren't to have a baby. Like that, either way, though, it doesn't change the baby to be. Baby to be, in an essence, remains the same. It's a constant. So the video is smart, funny. I like this ad a lot. It's incredibly powerful, and it exposes the truth no matter how much of their language juggling and their linguistics and whatever they try to do. The reality behind every fetus is that, um, that's aborted, is that it is a baby who never got to be born or live a life, period. So that is what I wanted to touch on here in the first segment of the 6 o'clock hour. It was I'm celebrating the um, 1 year anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. When I come back, we're going to talk about this uh, Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Russia. I have a view on it. I have some takes. I have a theory, and it has to do with that little accounting error, the the $6.2 billion that we sent over to Ukraine just recently. And I've got a theory, and you're going to want to stick around for it. See me on the Facebook Live, on the YouTube stream. I'm there. Good morning. Thanks so much for this live stream. I do want to ask you guys a question. Throw it into the comments. How many children do you have? How many children do you have? Throw it into the comments. I'd be curious to see how many children you have. Like, share, comment. I am going to be getting to quite a lot today. Adam Kingsinger is out there this morning. Well, yesterday he tweeted this about these they're feds, okay? And he says that they're feds. So there was a group that looks like what's called Patriot Front. Now, Patriot Front, they are allegedly like neo-fascist, white nationalists. I've never heard of them before. It's probably because they don't do anything. They're not an extreme threat to the United States. It's probably some sort of fringe group called Patriot Front, and allegedly they're white nationalists, according to Wikipedia, right? So, and the government, they are out to get these Front folks. So there was some sort of patriot rally that popped up, and then these feds showed up, and the feds showed up, and they were dressed as Patriot Front guys, and these other patriots, people with American flags, with cut off shirts, they had hats on. They went after these people and they said, "Get out of here. We don't want you here. Get the heck out of here." And Adam Kingsinger has this tweet out there, quote, "These people are all celebrating a seemingly MAGA assault on federal officers." So there were a lot of people out on Twitter talking about this, and they said, "Yeah, that's awesome. Way to go. Real MAGA versus Fed MAGA, and it's awesome to see patriots stand their ground against federal officers." And Adam Kingsinger, I think, says the quiet part out loud here, and he admits that these people were federal officers. Now, I can't play the audio for you because it's kind of explicit, but here's the video itself and what went down um, at this like riot, I guess. Not even a riot, like it was like a fight, I suppose. Here we go. So you can see there, these guys, let me rewind for you a bit.
Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Back up! Back up! Get out of here! Get the fuck out! Go!
100% federal agents. So these guys are all screaming at them, "Get the heck out of here. We don't want you here. Get the heck out." And then they start, poking them with sticks, pushing back on them. Right. And then it gets escalated because they engage and they keep trying to say, "Get out of here," and they won't leave. Um, so they obviously showed up to try to make these patriots who were protesting look bad. And they said, "Get out of here, get out of here." And these federal agents, they're putting their hands up. So it escalates here, and then they start to get into a fight. And then they demask a couple of them. So there were couple of people that were demasked, and they freaked out when they got demasked. Like there's one federal agent who doesn't have the mask on anymore. Okay, so point is, we've got Adam Kinzinger here saying these people are celebrating a seemingly MAGA assault on federal officers. Now, I don't know what this really is, but take a gander at the comments of the patriots who love America. So he said the quiet part out loud, folks. He admits that these people were federal. Does he know something that we don't? Um, right? So he said that these people, the question should be, why are federal agents showing up to MAGA rallies? Why are federal agents showing up to these MAGA rallies and trying to make people, patriots who are protesting, look bad? Um, I don't know why that would be. These are the questions that Adam Kinzinger should be asking. But why is does he know something that we don't? Why is he totally cool with federal agents showing up to a MAGA protest? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We're going to be back here in 30 seconds. I'm going to be running through a couple of stories. 2 boys, 3 children. Awesome. If you have children, throw it into the comments. How many kids you have. I want to do this in celebration of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was 1 year anniversary was on Saturday.
Обращаюсь к гражданам России, к личному составу вооруженных сил, правоохранительных органов и специальных служб, к бойцам и командирам, которые сейчас сражаются на своих боевых позициях, отбивают атаки противника. Делают это героически, зная, сегодня еще раз ночью говорил с командующими всех направлений.
Good morning, folks. This is the Morning Buzz. I so do appreciate you tuning in to the live stream. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You guys can check me out there. Now, I do want to get into my take here, my view on the whole this struggle between Prigozhin and Shogu. I have some views on the actions by Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Russia. Now, bottom line, this was probably the most lame attempt of a coup d'etat I have ever seen. So I have some takes here and I have some views. Plus, I have a theory. And I think my theory, as time goes on, is going to check out, or it becomes more and more validated, right? I've got my tinfoil hat here in studio. And yes, I have a theory. So let's get into it. This all started, from what I understood, as a power struggle between Prigozhin, who is a Russian general of some kind, some sort of army guy, and he leads troops for the Russian army. Okay, now Shogu, he is the defense ministry head or something like that. He's a big dude, and like he's a big guy for the Russians. Okay, so he is irreplaceable. Now, Prigozhin isn't as high ranking. So at the beginning here of this military operation, Shogu and his team made mistakes. There were throughout the war. Prigozhin thinks that Shogu, this other military guy, has made a lot of mistakes, and Prigozhin became a very strong critic of Shogu. Shoigu is, like I said, he is right up there with Putin. He is the head of the defense ministry. He is untouchable, as you would say, as far as Russian goes. He's like Putin's pal. Okay, so Prigozhin is a high-ranking military general as well, so he's high up there too, and not as much as as Shoigu. So Prigozhin had success in Bakhmut with the Wagner Group. So this is a group of military people, army, soldiers, and stuff like that. And he's presenting himself as a better military leader than Shoigu. These guys are both leaders. So, in my view, Shoigu here then provoked Prigozhin by limiting ammunition supplies to Bakhmut, resulting in Wagner Group losses. And there was a strong reaction from Prigozhin, this other military leader. Many of you have seen this video. I watched the video of Prigozhin attacking Shoigu. So they were all, at this military conference or whatever, and they were meeting, and this video got leaked that where Prigozhin is like attacking and on the verge of killing Shoigu. And it looks really bad for Prigozhin because it looks like he's a bit of a hothead. So he was attacking Shoigu and the Russian military leadership, and he's just not agreeing with how Shoigu is going about his military operations. So ammunition deliveries were eventually restored, and there was a victory in Bakhmut eventually. Okay, so he was withholding ammunition from Prigozhin. Shoigu was. He was withholding some ammunition, but then eventually those deliveries were restored, and it led to a victory in Bakhmut, which was achieved, this victory. But the video of this outburst where Prigozhin tried to attack Shoigu was very counterproductive for Prigozhin because the Kremlin and these senior political leaders in Moscow saw him as some sort of loose cannon, and they were like, this guy can't be trusted. Prigozhin can't be. But Prigozhin doubled down, and he was trying to predict all of these massive losses for the military, the Russian military, claiming that they weren't ready for the Ukrainian counteroffensive. So there was a counteroffensive that Ukraine was gearing up for, and he claimed that the Russian troops were badly equipped and poorly managed under this high-ranking military guy, Shoigu. He's the defense ministry leader. Now, the Russian military successfully repelled the Ukrainian counteroffensive, so they were winning. So once again, Prigozhin was wrong, and he played himself into a corner, and this time he was running out because Shoigu and the generals delivered a major victory for the Kremlin. So he was trying to say that the Russians were ready and that, it's a bad call. They went through it with it anyway because he's very high-ranking, right? So Shoigu definitely has more of the military operation power than this Prigozhin guy. So in my view, the actions by Prigozhin are the act of desperation here, where he tries to go and, go to Moscow. It wasn't even real, though, I don't think. So if anything, if it was real, if this was real, right, these actions by Prigozhin were it was desperation because he had lost the power struggle here against Shoigu. So it wasn't really necessarily Prigozhin was going up against Putin or the state of Russia, right? It was just, or the government of Russia. He was just mainly peeved off because he lost in this power struggle against Shoigu, and he was likely facing serious retaliation because he was constantly being insubordinate to this Shoigu military official. Now, Western media, so we like to claim these Democrats and war hawks like Adam Kinzinger. They tried to sit there all this weekend and say that this was some sort of coup against Putin, and that Putin can't keep his military ranks in rank and file, right? And that there was some sort of coup. That's nonsense. I'm going to be frank with you. The popularity of Putin within Russia, and the non-Western world has never been higher. I don't like Putin. Putin is a thug. Putin is evil. I'm not trying to be a Russian sympathist here, but I'm being a realist with you and I'm leveling with you. People like Putin in the non-Western world as far as Russia goes, okay? However, this war between Prigozhin and Shoigu was an unwelcome distraction. Putin didn't like it because he was pro Shoigu. Shoigu is somebody who is a top ranking military official, and he is part of the Department of Defense, their version of it's a defense ministry. So Putin naturally takes Shoigu's side because he's a high ranking official, more high ranking than Prigozhin. And it was an unwelcome distraction here for the Kremlin, and most likely the outcome here was going to be the arrest and termination of Prigozhin because he was having really a spat with another um, defense ministry guy. This doesn't mean that he was not for the Russian cause. It literally means that he was trying to save face. And when you boil it down, people are very simple. But just human beings are very simpler. So simple. This guy had his man card or his masculinity challenged, and in typical Russian fashion, he wanted to save face, and it was an act of desperation because he had lost between this power struggle that he had against Shoigu, this other military leader. But here's the thing, folks. Prigozhin has not died. He was not killed by Putin, and he was not arrested by Putin as of right now for doing this whole thing with Shoigu, which, I mean, bottom line, even though he wasn't trying to cause some sort of coup or coup d'etat, or he wasn't trying to, insurrection, this wasn't an insurrection. Uh, Things like this in a disorderly military general who plays this kind of stuff, usually they die. Okay. That's bottom line. You're terminated. But he hasn't been terminated yet, which raises all kinds of question marks in my eyes. I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What's going on here? Why didn't Putin just kill this guy? Well, here's my theory. Because this guy hasn't been killed yet, I think that the CIA and Ukrainian president, our CIA, the United States CIA, our CIA, and I think President Zelensky were paying Prigozhin to come in and start an insurrection and attack Moscow, because Ukraine and Russia, that would be beneficial to Ukraine, right? And they paid Prigozhin to go do this. And perhaps they paid Prigozhin using the $6.2 billion. Remember this whole accounting error that happened? And they came out and they said, guys, we're going to have to send more money to Ukraine because there was an accounting error. We have the $6.2 billion. What if they used that $6.2 billion that was sent to Ukraine? They sent it to Prigozhin, and they expected Prigozhin to go in and attack Moscow, fully believing that Prigozhin would die, right? This was just to try to get the narrative out there that Putin can't keep his people rank and file, and that Putin is not liked by people within his own Russian military, okay? That was the goal. It was to not take Moscow, because there's no way Prigozhin with this ragtag group, this Wagner group, there was no way he was going to take Moscow. This was a lame attempt at a coup d'etat if I've ever seen one. Okay, this is the most lame one. So what I think happened was Prigozhin having an alliance with the Russian government, right? He probably informed Putin and Shoigu of the plans, and they all just became $6.2 billion richer. And they put on a little show to try to pretend that the Wagner Group carried out this mission that they were tasked with by the CIA and President Zelensky. I know that's a conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, whatever, but it doesn't make sense that Prigozhin hasn't been killed yet or wasn't arrested for this little thing that he did. And like I said, it was a lame attempt at a coup d'etat if I've ever seen one. It was like a couple of tanks, a couple of dozen trucks carrying a couple of hundred disorderly soldiers, and these soldiers had ill-fitting uniforms, right? It wasn't, it looked terrible. At most, it was a parade that was escorted by the National Guard of Russia into Rostov, which was outside of Moscow. It's pretty far from Moscow, not too far. There's a highway connecting Rostov and Moscow. But Prigozhin pretended to occupy the city of Rostov and had a chat with a couple of generals, after which he and this motley group of insurrectionists drove away again. So they never made it up to Moscow. They didn't definitely didn't dethrone Putin, as people were saying here in the United States. They were like, oh my gosh, Putin, the war is going to end. Putin is going to be dethroned and they're going to overthrow him. No, no, no. Putin says they're all in very big trouble and they have to be dealt with promptly and harshly, but they haven't been. And that's it, folks. Show's over. Right? Show's over. This whole coup d'etat thing, this whole, the Russian military being disorderly and dethroning Putin. It never happened. It wasn't going to happen. And if you ask me, I think my theory is going to wind up checking out one day. I think it was just a bunch of theatrics. I think it was a movie they put on, a show that they put on, and what happened at the end of the day, they pocketed $6.2 billion that we misplaced. Hey, good morning, folks. Be sure to comment how many children you have if you're watching. This is in celebration, of course, um, of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which was a year ago on this past Saturday. Let's get to some of your comments. The mainstream media is always going to spin it as if Putin is weak, crazy, and has so many inside enemies that but can never explain the full story. Meanwhile, they ignore massive corruption going on inside Ukraine. Yeah, well, like I said, it turned out not very good. I think that my theory is going to wind up checking out someday. And just like my Nord Stream 2 pipeline theory, right? There was a theory out there that the United States CIA did it. And it came out that Seymour Hersh, he published something in his Substack that suggests that our CIA, it was a NATO summer exercise. This is the only way, and we know that Ukraine isn't a part of NATO, so this was a summer exercise. It was called Baltops 22. The United States has been lying their butts off when it comes to the blowing up of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline because they did it. Okay, the CIA participated in this Baltops 22 summer project where these divers went down and they planted bombs that would detonate at a later time, and they blew up a few months after this summer Baltops 22 operation. And to this day, we still have people saying that Russia blew up their own pipeline, even though there's all kinds of evidence that suggests that our CIA, Ukrainian officials have come out and said that they didn't do it, and then they came out and said that they did do it. Point is, I mean, Ukraine and the United States, we are essentially the 51st state of the United States is Ukraine at this point because of how much money and resources we've been giving them to fuel this war. And don't forget that there are people in the middle of this who are dying. There are people who are dying. Um, Putin controls the money and just got punked into giving a boatload of dollars away. Putin caved like a leak little punt thug, no all bark and no bite. Controls the money and got punked into giving a boatload of dollars away. Putin cave. I don't know what you're saying. This whole story, right, proves that Putin was not. I don't think that they were even trying to overthrow Putin. I think what it proves is that the United States and Ukraine got played. I think that's what it proves here because this little spat between the Wagner Group and the Russian state, this was all cooked up. It was fake. Now there was some issues documented. Now this might have, and Putin plays 4D chess. He's not stupid, folks. He could have had this video. Like, why would a video go viral of Prigozhin fighting with Shogu? Like, it's out there, right? That they were angry with each other. Why would a video like that go viral? Things don't make it out of Russia if not approved by Putin. Putin is a dictator. He's evil, and there's things that go on inside of these military conference rooms, right? And it should all be very top secret. But there was a video out there that shows Prigozhin fighting with Shogu, who is one of the top military leaders in Russia. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that this video goes viral. And we can see that there is infighting going on between this high Russian military general Prigozhin and Shogu, who is the defense ministry head. Okay, so we can see that going on. And I think what might have happened was that was all orchestrated by Putin. He wanted people to think that Prigozhin was, mad and upset about the state and about Shogu running things, and that could have been true. But at the end of the day, what happened was the United States, the CIA, President Zelensky, in their corrupt fashion, decided to cook up something, $6.2 billion, and give this to Prigozhin to try to lead a coup d'etat. And they didn't care if Prigozhin died, which would have been the likely outcome of that. And Prigozhin, being loyal to Russia still, decided to inform Putin and Shogu of this money that he received in order to go do this coup d'etat. And they said, okay, let's play it out, but we're going to pocket $6.2 billion instead. So we're going to play the United States and Ukraine. And they won, right? I think that's ultimately what happened here. So people are asking me, how does Putin benefit from this? So I don't know. It's hard for me to explain, but at the end of the day, what's going on here, this whole coup d'etat, it was the lamest attempt of a coup d'etat I have ever seen in my life, which suggests to me that perhaps Prigozhin was in on this whole thing, and Prigozhin informed Putin and Shogu. Shogu is a top-ranking military leader. He's the leader of the defense ministry for the state of Russia, for the government of Russia. So he and Putin are joined at the hip here, okay? And Prigozhin, I think they've cooked up this spat between Shogu and Prigozhin, these two military leaders within the Russian ranks. And ultimately, our CIA, the United States, and the Ukraine, President Zelensky, they decided, hey, this looks like some infighting going on, which was cooked up by Putin and Shogu and Prigozhin. They were all in on this cooked up fight that they were having. And they were all in on it, right? They were pretending to fight, which provoked Ukraine, Zelensky, and the United States to give $6.2 billion to Prigozhin to go cause an insurrection and to go try to dethrone Putin and to overthrow Putin and cause some sort of, chaos. That was the goal here. And they gave him money, Prigozhin, $6.2 billion. And how does Putin benefit from that? Well, Prigozhin and Putin are friends here, folks. Prigozhin told Putin, hey, the United States approached me and the Ukraine approached me, and they gave me this $6.2 billion. You guys remember the accounting error where we had to send another $6.2 billion to Ukraine. Really what we were doing, we're paying Russian military people to go do some infighting and to try to cause an insurrection, right? That's what we were trying to do, to make people think that Putin doesn't have control over his own people. And what at the end of the day, how does Putin benefit from this? Well, he pocketed $6.2 billion from the United States in this fake coup d'etat. Now, this is completely tinfoil hat This has not come out in mainstream media and likely never will. However, I do think that this was all fake. I don't think that this was an actual attempt at a coup d'etat. I don't think that they were trying to overthrow Putin. Now, it could be real that Shogu and Prigozhin actually were fighting and they did not like each other. And this led Prigozhin to act like a fool and try to take Moscow with a motley group of insurrectionists. But like I said, folks, it was a lame attempt, and Prigozhin remains alive. In things like this in Russia, Putin would not allow that. Okay, if you were having a fight, a spat with the defense ministry, with the head, Shogu, if you were having a spat with him, then you off with your head, right? They don't allow that kind of stuff. But yet, Prigozhin is allowed to keep his life and hasn't been arrested. Why do you think that is? The reason why is because Prigozhin was in on it from the beginning, and he was paid to by somebody to go do this coup d'etat attempt, right? And at the end of the day, they were all in on it together, and they all pocketed $6.2 billion for the Russian military, possibly. I don't know. I do want to shift gears when we come back. Naked men, naked adults exposing themselves to children in Seattle. Yes, the United States during a gay pride parade. I was removed this morning from Facebook. I am still allowed to live stream, but I cannot post, I can't comment, I can't share things because Facebook decided to remove me because I made it known that there were naked people parading themselves around children. And apparently that goes against their nudity community standards. They're a bunch of bigots there at Facebook. Good morning, folks. If you're watching right now, go ahead and smash the like button. I so do appreciate you tuning in. For today, I am asking you how many children you have, grandchildren, how many children are in your life, nephews, nieces. Throw that number into the comments. Now, Ezekiel is up this morning. So the U.S. taxpayers paid a mercenary thug to stage a fake coup against Putin. That's an extraordinary claim. Ha ha. See, now you're starting to see where I'm picking it up here. Okay, extraordinary claim. Sure. Okay, yeah, you can say that that theory seems a bit sus and has a lot of holes. Okay, that's fine. But that's where I'm going with this because Ezekiel, you have to try to explain to me why in the world would Prigozhin remain with his life if this was an actual attempt at a coup d'état. Putin, being the thug that he is, would chop his head off in front of everyone. Why is he remaining with his life? Why wasn't he even arrested? Okay, if you can answer that question or have some sort of question or answer to that question, then I would. I'm going to be the first one to say that my theory has a hole in it, right? But this is why I have this theory. Why in the world would Prigozhin get to keep his life after actually attempting a coup d'état? And if we can find out where that $6.2 billion accounting error went, why we had to send extra money to Ukraine, that would also be right a hole in my theory, and you can try to explain that theory away. But no, I don't think it's I don't think it's too insane. Ezekiel, you are so distraught, cracking me up. You better tag Colson. Yeah, I know. I've got to unblock Colson. Everybody misses him. I should probably unblock him. He was getting he had a lot of language, and we had to block him for a couple of months because of his language and inappropriate behavior on Facebook. Hey, but at least he wasn't removed by the fake bookers who I'm going to be talking about this. There's naked people exposing themselves to children during this pride event. I thought there were things like decency laws, nudity laws. I guess not during this pride parade. And they exposed their genitals to children in the audience. And I just simply put the video up there. I put the video up there. Hey, this is happening in Seattle right now on our Cities 92.9 Facebook page. And give us a like, give us a follow. And I was removed. That post was removed, and I have all kinds of restrictions against my account now for nudity violations, community standards. And I think it's so funny because, wait a second, Facebook, are you saying that people who are gay can't be out and proud and you're body shaming them? Because these people are nude because they believe that their bodies shouldn't be shamed into wearing clothes. So I think Facebook, the people there, are a bunch of bigots because they removed that video. Why? Why remove the video? Why is it going against your nudity community standards? I thought that this was all about gay pride, right? I thought we were all together and kumbaya. Why can't we all just be naked? Oh, that's morally wrong and indecent. Oh, okay. Oh, it's not good that people go out and parade or prance around naked in front of small children. Oh, oh. Brittany Griner gets months in Russia for weed. Pretty sure Cat is closer than most theories here. He wouldn't have been alive if this was a legit attempt at a rebellion. Yes. Exactly. Um, Even if they did wind up killing him, the theory could possibly still check out. Russians are crazy, okay? They are nationalists and they will die for their country. Somebody like a general as high up as Prigozhin wouldn't mind killing himself for the cause. They are like blood pact. I am here for here for my country. That is the way Russians think, and it's screwed up. Okay, this has got a lot to deal with, the Russian military brainwashing. This is what happens in authoritarian regimes. They brainwash you into believing all of this nonsense authoritarian regime crap, and then you will, no matter what, defend the government, even if that means killing yourself, right? So for this $6.2 billion, is his head worth $6.2 billion? In Putin's eyes, probably yes. Now he hasn't died. Yeah, and that's something important to note here. Hold on. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. We've got a lot of comments rolling in here on the YouTube and Facebook live stream. You guys can join me there and interact with me. I can interact with you. Coming up, we are going to be talking about Adam Kinzinger taking to Twitter, and he says the quiet part out loud, folks. I think he knows something that we don't about these feds who showed up to a MAGA rally. Adam Kinzinger on Twitter this morning. I'm going to cover it next on the Morning Buzz. See, no, Ezekiel, that's where you're wrong. Authoritarian regimes like Joe Biden's regime, right? You are constantly defending the Biden regime, the United States. We are getting closer and closer to an authoritarian regime. And honestly, we are probably there. We have people who are willing to defend the state government, the United States government, with every ounce of their being. And it doesn't matter what you tell them, they will defend it, defend it, defend it. MAGA is not on the side of defending the regime, right? We are actually dissenters in that. We are constantly saying that, we're pro speech. We are pro America. These people want to destroy America, and that's what Putin has done in his country, where he has destroyed America and people's thought processes, where they are so brainwashed to where they are willing to die for the cause of Russia. They are extreme nationalists, and it sounds more like the left, if you're asking me. Right. It sounds a lot like the left in this country where we are willing to defend. That is not a crazy theory to suggest that the CIA in Ukraine paid Prigozhin to go do this attempt of a coup d'etat. And then Prigozhin, um, not being allegiant to the United States and to Ukraine and deciding to align with where he is from, Russia, and informing Putin and Shogu both of the plans that he has and them pocketing the $6.2 billion that he was paid to go do this attempt of a coup d'etat. It's not completely far-fetched to think that, and it's more far-fetched to think that you don't subscribe to that kind of theory or think that that theory is possible. Um, and the reason why you don't think that theory is possible is because you have a overwhelming allegiance to the United States and to this regime. Whatever the regime says goes. My son-in-law, his mom and dad are on their way to Oklahoma and seen a cyclist nude and taking a dump wiping himself on the side of the road. It's starting to be like Mad Max era out here. Crazy times. Yeah. Um, OnlyFans is a thing on FB, but talking about a gay pride nudity and exposing it gets you kicked off social media. Yes. So we are going to be talking about this. Coming up here in the 7 o'clock hour, there were some topless activists who were chanting, "We're coming for your children. We're coming for your children." So, when conservatives, when people who, are dissenters of this trans ideology, this drag ideology, um, when we dissent and we say, no, not in front of our kids, you're coming after our kids, that's not crazy, right? Because here are a bunch of topless activists who are chanting, literally, quote, "We're coming for your children." And perhaps the whole goal of this LGBTQ nonsense and drag shows, maybe it is because they want to come after children. That's just a hot take here because, oh, I don't know, they said it. Um, they said, "We're coming for your children." That's pretty obvious. I don't even think you have to say that part, but they said that part out loud for everyone. And like I said, there were some naked adults exposing themselves to children during this Seattle Pride Parade. I got kicked off Facebook. I got all kinds of restrictions on my account because I posted what was going on in Seattle. I like this listener here, Ryan. Ryan, thanks so much for the comment here. OnlyFans is on Facebook, and that's okay. But the second you try to expose the queer people for being queer and for being weird, because that's the definition of queer, it's weird and it's odd. Uh, the minute you expose them for being the nudist predators that they are, exposing themselves in front of children, you are a predator. In any other context, right? That like just because it's a gay pride parade, that gives you a pass. Um, no, if this were to be a man who comes into a classroom and exposes himself to children, or a teacher who exposes himself to children, then that would be a crime, right? We wouldn't even think twice about it. But because a bunch of these people are waving around gay pride flags, that makes it okay? Question mark? Yeah. Uh, so we're going to be talking about that. Plus, Adam Kingsinger, he says the quiet part out loud here, folks. He admits that these people are feds. And here's my thing, Adam, why in the world would you not be concerned about these guys being federal officers? So Adam Kingsinger admits that these federal officers um, went to this MAGA rally and they tried to make MAGA people look bad. And, my concern is that we have Adam Kingsinger um, not talking about why would federal officers pretend to be white nationalists marching around and trying to manipulate what people are thinking. Why would they be crashing rallies of people who don't think like them, and why would they be trying to make people look bad? But notice Kingsinger doesn't care about that part here in this tweet. He just all he cares about is trying to figure out a way he can attack people on the right. So this video is truly the best video out there. There's a bunch of MAGA people on the right who go after these people who look like they're from Patriot Front, like characters, and they get unmasked here in Portland, Oregon, after they show up and try to crash a political rally. So I'm going to talk about that and Adam Kingsinger's little tweet here. So Stick around, and if you're watching right now, smash the like button and share this out with your friends. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz, 7 o'clock hour here. We've got so much to get to, so just such little time. Earlier in the show, we were talking a lot about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, Demi Lovato dropping this new pro-abortion anthem, which is just disturbing. And she says it's for all the birthing people in America. Demi, you suck. Okay. Then we cleansed the palate a bit with this new Focus on the Family ad, and it's hysterical. It's very profound. I love this ad. It goes after the people, the leftists, who try to do this mental gymnastics and try to say that the baby isn't a baby and that it's a fetus and it's just a clump of cells. But it's so funny because those same people celebrate life. I'm sure those people celebrate their birthday every year, these leftists, and I'm sure that they have children in their life and they call those children babies, right? We don't say, congrats, you're having a fetus. We don't say, it's positive, I'm having a fetus, right? That is not something we as Americans do. We celebrate life. The only difference here is when you don't want that life, all of a sudden the baby becomes a fetus and it becomes a clump of cells. But at the end of the day, the baby is a constant. It's something that remains the same. The only thing that doesn't remain the same is our desire to have that baby, or that desire to keep this baby alive and let that baby have a life here. And that's the only difference. And I love this ad because it is so hysterical, it's profound, and it's really good. And then I also gave you my view on the actions here that were taken by Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Russia. And I gave you my theory. Look, it was the most lame attempt at a coup d'etat I've ever seen. So therefore, I don't think it was a coup d'etat. Like, actually, I think somebody paid Prigozhin there to go pretend to have a coup d'etat. And whoever paid Prigozhin to go do this coup d'etat, they got duped because guess what? Prigozhin probably just went to Russia and said, hey, they want to pay me this money to pretend to, or to go and do a coup d'etat and to overthrow you, Putin. But I'm not going to do that because I love you, because that's what Russians believe. Okay. They are willing to die for their country. It's years and years and years of manipulation and regime stronghold over the people's minds, and they are willing to die for Russia. They're very nationalist over there. They wouldn't mind dying for their country. It's very nationalist. And they would sacrifice themselves. There's a lot of regimes, and it's just the way it goes, right? Where they try to brainwash you and manipulate you into believing that the regime is the only way, and that the regime is powerful enough to be worthy of your life being taken. So I think at the end of the day, it was a lame attempt at a coup d'etat, and I don't think it was an actual coup d'etat. I think it was all theatrics. So that was the 6 o'clock hour. And the 7 o'clock hour, what we talking about? Well, lots of gay pride. So these topless activists, people who had no shirts on, chanted, quote, "We are coming for your children." It was a drag march in New York City, because I guess that wasn't obvious enough. Yes, we know that you're coming for our children. You expose yourself to our children. You read disturbing content to our children. You force it down their throats via curriculum. So we're going to be talking about the New York City topless activists who are quoting, "We are coming for your children." Okay. Next, naked adults exposing themselves to children at a Seattle Pride rally. I was taken off of Facebook. Like, I have several restrictions because I posted the gay pride events where men were riding around on bicycles and they got up off of their bicycles fully nude, exposing themselves to small children. And Facebook took down the video. They removed the post because, quote, it was in violation of their nudity community standards. So if it's in violation of the Facebook nudity community standards, maybe, just maybe, folks, it should be against the Seattle community standards, the ordinances against nudity laws, against decency. Like, there's decency laws. You can't expose yourself to children in any other context. If they weren't waving around rainbow flags, if this was a teacher who goes into a classroom and gets naked in front of a bunch of children, what would we call that? A crime. So why is it okay here in Seattle to have grown men prancing around with rainbow flags, exposing themselves to children? It's not okay. A little bit later, whoopsie, Adam Kinzinger just said something he shouldn't have about these Patriot Front guys who were attacked by MAGA rally goers. And I've got that story here. So let's get into it. Progressives' two favorite groups, drag queens. They love the drag queens and they love topless feminists. So they came together in New York City over the weekend for an annual drag march. So I guess it's like a drag queen march. I don't know, where a bunch of drag queens get together and they march down the street. You can watch it here in studio. I'm going to play their chants here for you because they're chanting something that is pretty obvious, right? We know, and I know, and you know that they are coming for your children. Let's take a listen to them saying that they're coming for their. Quote, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." Mm. Okay, so that's this is what they wanted us to know, that they were there, that they were queer, and third, and perhaps most specific, is that they are in fact coming for our children. Welcome to 2023. There's only 4 days left here in June. And like I said, folks, I got removed on Facebook for posting videos about them being topless, right? They were all topless feminists there at this drag march in New York City. And they were chanting, quote, "We're coming for your children." I got removed on Facebook and restricted my account because I posted this. If you ask me, Facebook is a bunch of bigots, right? I thought that they were there. They were queer. You're supposed to be celebrating that. These marchers, they were speaking out against common sense, leave our kids alone laws. Okay, that's what they were doing. Some states are restricting children from being allowed to watch raunchy sex shows in the name of education, right? It's clear what was going on in Hayworth. There was a literal porn movie being suggested as reading material for children, 13, 14 years old. And it was on her classroom website for these children to watch something literally designed by Pornhub. And this was Pornhub document. It was about Pornhub. It was about OnlyFans. It was very inappropriate for children. So there's states who are speaking out against this, creating legislation. Our corporate journalismers keep creating content that claim that these very normal states that say, "Hey, leave our kids alone," and here's some laws to where we are going to forbid adults showing raunchy porn to children. So these are very normal states, but the corporate journalismers, they're going to try to say that you're outlawing drag. You're 8 out of 10 probably of these CNN content creator corporate journalisms, they're going to have you believe that it's illegal to scream the word gay in a crowded movie theater in Florida. Okay, that's what they want you to believe is going on. But really what's going on, these are very normal people creating legislation that is designed to protect children from predators. This is very predatory. They're saying, "We're coming for your children." Look, drag is not a crime. Being a stripper, watching rated R movies, not a crime either. However, there are local state ordinances that prevent children from going to strip joints and rated R movies because we have an obligation as a society to protect them. We need to protect the kids. So I think all the confusion from this being, New York City, where if you have a rainbow, if you're on the rainbow spectrum and you have the rainbow flags, you're granted all of these extra rights. Like I said, if this were to happen, if you were to expose yourself in front of children in any other context other than you having a rainbow flag in your hand, you would be put in cuffs. If you were to do that, you'd be put in cuffs. But because they had rainbow flags in their hands, it's okay. In 2020, cisnormative people, they were forced to shut down their businesses. People who were cisnormative, they were forced to stay locked in their homes. You, an Illinoisan, you had to keep your kids away from their friends at school, and you were only allowed to leave the house if you wore 3 masks in the name of science. In the name of science, you have to wear a mask and you have to stay locked in your home. You have to shut down your businesses. The L's, the G's, the B's, and especially the T's here of the LGBTQ community, the whole gang, they're allowed to party in the streets and ignore the science. That's what was going on in 2020. June 2020? Yeah, you remember all the Pride events. They were allowed to go around naked in the streets. And like, look, folks, PDA. I don't understand. PDA, public displays of affection. If you're straight, you're not allowed to have, if you're straight man, okay, you're not allowed to go around in the back of a truck and whip a girl on her butt cheeks as the truck drives past children watching a parade. You can't do that as a cisnormative straight man, okay? You can't do that. I know you wouldn't do that even if you had the right to do that because you have morals and decency. But as long as 2 dudes are doing it, it's okay. As long as they've got gay pride flags on the truck, then it's fine. And that happened, folks. We had 2 guys whipping each other on their butt cheeks, driving around in front of children. And apparently that was called equity. I'm not able to figure out why people who are attempting to push back against common sense laws about limiting children to being exposed to sexual content feel chanting, we're coming for your children is helping their cause. Right? I like think about this from a leftist perspective. Why in the world would chanting "we're coming after your children" help your cause? Unless, and I'm just spitballing here, coming for our children is the cause. They want your kids. 309-451-9299. You can text in. And that brings me to Seattle. So that happened in New York City. We had a bunch of topless activists chanting, "We're coming for your children. We're here. We're queer. We're coming for your children." Now, move on over to Seattle. What happened over the weekend was deeply disturbing. We had men exposing themselves, their genitalia, and they rode around on these bicycles, and children were watching. This was an event put on by Seattle Pride. There was video footage taken by the Post Millennial, and it showed naked men with pride flags painted on their bodies, riding around in the street, waving to crowds of people, including multiple children. There was a sign on one bike that read, "Challenge body shame, build esteem." Another said, "Pride is for everybody." So one man can be seen in a video. He stops by these bystanders who are in the crowd, and then he gets off his bike, and his full genitals were exposed to a crowd in front of him. And in that crowd, probably a child, I'm looking at this video, of about 3-4 years old. Wow. Wow. Now, there was a website promoting this Pride event over the weekend in Seattle, and it says, "This is a fun, community-wide celebration of advancing awareness of LGBTQIA issues and promoting mutual respect and equal human rights for all." Sponsors of the Seattle Pride Night include Alaska Airlines, Starbucks, and the Seattle Seahawks. Wow. This is 2023, and we have 4 days left of June, folks. It's almost over. Actually, just kidding. It doesn't go away after June, and the corporations continue to sponsor crap like this all around the country. 309-451-9299. You can text in. You can also see me live in studio. Coming up next, I am going to be talking about Adam Kingsinger's little tweet today, because he says the quiet part out loud here, folks, and I think Adam knows something that we don't. Ugh. Or MAGA planted activists in the Pride Parade. That wouldn't surprise anyone. Oh my gosh. Are you serious right now? Come on, Ezekiel. You and I both know that that's not true. There is a clear difference between federal agents being planted and having a former congressman coming out and, in fact, confirming that they were federal agents. We had a former congressman, Adam Kinzinger, come out and say that these federal agents were planted, essentially, right there. So he should be asking the question of why were federal agents planted at this MAGA rally to try to make these MAGA rally goers look bad. MAGA people planted in a pride parade. Come on, now that's just wacky. Let me show you the video here. I'm going to show you the naked people. And it's clear that these people aren't MAGA, because MAGA people would never. There is no way. And, like, come on. There is just no way. My gosh, this is unreal. I can't believe that this is going on here in the United States. We actually have naked people prancing around. Wowza. Here we go. I'm sorry, but wearing a face mask, oh my god. Normalize nudity. Oh my gosh. That's wild. Take part. This is in Toronto, so this was in Canada, but there was one in Seattle. Here's Bud Light. They made an attempt to try to restore people. We know that these people You wanna know how I know this isn't conservative perspective? You wanna know how I know? I've yet to meet a conservative that looks like that. I'm sorry, but the blue hair, this is just not something conservatives would be willing to do. Wow. That's what's going on. Hey, if you're watching right now, be sure to like, comment, share. We're gonna be back in just a couple of minutes. Breaking news last night. This came out. The Vatican, they are they are going after the bishop here. His name is Bishop Strickland, and the Vatican placed this Texas bishop. His name is Joseph Strickland, and they placed him under investigation after he led a prayer march against the LA Dodgers last week because the LA Dodgers hosted this group. It's called the Sister of Perpetual Indulgence, where they use the cross as a strip pole and they dress up as Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and they pretty much blaspheme Christianity. And this Texas bishop led a prayer march against the LA Dodgers allowed this group to come perform on Pride Night, and there was a massive protest outside of the LA Dodger Stadium, and that was led by the bishop from Texas. His name is Joseph, and now he's under investigation. 309-451-9299. I do want to talk about little Adam Kingsinger. Aw. He came out with this tweet, and it has to deal with this viral video of these Patriot Front-like characters. So Patriot Front, for those of you new to the whole white nationalists are the biggest threat to America thing, I guess Patriot Fronts is like some sort of white nationalist group. I've never heard of them. It's probably because, oh, I don't know, Patriot Front is a fringy group and not a problem for Americans. Okay, this is probably like two dudes in their basement talking about white nationalist things. Now, I don't even know if that's true, right? This is all according to our government. They say that Patriot Front is a white nationalist group. Now, there's a viral video out there where this Patriot Front looking group of characters, they get unmasked in Portland, Oregon. And this was after they showed up to crash a political rally. So there was a political rally. Goers included members of the Proud Boys who were not having it, right? The Proud Boys were not about these Patriot Front people showing up. They didn't want to get smeared with whatever Patriot Front like characters might say or do. So these rally goers went up to this group that looked like this Patriot Front group, and they called them a bunch of racists. They told them to get the heck out of there, using more colorful language than I am allowed to use here on the radio. And then they proceeded to demask all of these characters, a few of them. And that led to these Patriot Front like guys, these guys dressed up in these black masks. They were Patriot Front guys, I guess. Well, they looked like Patriot Front guys. That led them to panic, and they started covering their faces with their jackets. Now, this video has almost 15 million views. These people are dressed up like Patriot Front. Now, look, there's two things here. Either these people are feds or they're leftists trying to make people on the right look bad. So most likely that's the case here, is that these people are feds. I think that they're feds. Now, one of the funniest reactions to the video came from our very own Adam Kingsinger, our hometown boy. He's a former Illinois representative, a congressman, right? And he is now a senior political commentator for CNN. So Adam Kingsinger gets out there and he tweets this out, folks. These people, all these blue checks. So Benny Johnson, I think there were a few other conservative pundits who tweeted this video out, and they were celebrating a seemingly MAGA assault on federal officers. Now, I don't know what this really is, but take a gander at the comments of the patriots who love America. So a lot of conservative pundits were sharing this video out and saying, hey, look at this awesome video. We have MAGA rally goers stepping out and speaking up against these federal officers. And they were saying things like, you're a racist, right? So even if they weren't federal officers and they were actually like white nationalists that they were portrayed to be, even if they were that, then like this is a good video, right? Either situation, these real MAGA people compared to the Fed MAGA, or if they were actually this Patriot Front white nationalist group, either way, the real MAGA folks here who have the American flags and who are the actual rally goers are winning because they say, hey, you're racist, get out of here, and they try to get these extremists out of here. Now, the thing is they unmasked a few of these guys and they were freaking out. But I want to point out Adam Kingsinger's tweet. He says the seemingly MAGA assault on federal officers. So we have conservative pundits celebrating the fact that MAGA assaulted federal officers. Does he know what he just said? He just called these guys federal officers. Does Adam Kingsinger know something the rest of us don't? Did he just say something he shouldn't have said? It's the former January 6th committee member saying here that federal officers embed themselves in these groups. Can we say whoopsies in a big way? Whoopsies. He actually came out and said the quiet part out loud. If he doesn't know, then it sounds like he's feeding conspiracy theories and or defending alleged white nationalists by claiming that they're feds, right? If these are so-called the Patriot Front people, then he's trying to say that these people are feds and he's defending them. Also a very bad look for Kingsinger if that's what he's doing. Imagine thinking it's not patriotic to call white nationalists racist and to call them out and to try to get them to leave the rally. Is that the position he's taking? These are allegedly white nationalists. I don't think he really knows what he was doing here with this tweet. What should trouble Kingsinger here is, in fact, if he cared about the truth, why would federal officers be pretending to be white nationalists, marching around and trying to manipulate people, manipulate their thinking of MAGA Republicans, right, who go to these rallies? Why would they be crashing rallies of people who don't think like them? And why would they be trying to make other people look bad? But notice Adam Kingsinger isn't asking about why feds would be at this rally. That doesn't disturb him. It's all about what he can do to attack the people on the right. That's what this is all about. He wants to try to attack people on the right. Wow. Saying the quiet part out loud there, little Adam Kingsinger. All right. Do have to cut to break, but when we come back, we are going to be talking with Scott Robbins on the Morning Buzz. It's Scott's Takes. Happens around 7:35 every morning. See, I don't know about y'all, but Hunter Biden is just the brightest, the best. He's the best that the United States has to offer. He is somebody to be proud of. Scott Robbins here on the Morning Buzz. Good morning.
Well, he's the smartest man Joe Biden knows. Joe's proclaimed that several times. And looking at his cabinet, he might be right. Yeah, I'm just saying. Now we got this. I read this weird story, this Hunter Biden story. And I know a lot of people roll their eyes now when you say Hunter Biden, like, oh my gosh, again. I mean, I understand that because it's been in the news cycle for years now. The laptop, and then, of course, they bring the charges, and then you get slapped on the wrist, and you know how that goes. But there are big questions now that Congress is going to have to pursue, as it appears left them to hold some people accountable when the Department of Justice wouldn't. Case in point, the gun. What was the deal with the gun? We all know it was an illegal firearm that Hunter, when he got the firearm, did not admit to being a drug addict, which of course he was, and you can't have a gun if you're a drug addict. So anyway, allegedly, this was the one, by the way, he was shown to the hooker. That's also on video. It turns out that the gun was thrown in a trash can at the DuPont High School in Wilmington, Delaware. They came back later to retrieve it, and the gun was gone. So there were questions about the Secret Service being involved. There were reports that agents approached the owner of the shop where Hunter bought the gun. I mean, if this is all true, it raises quite a lot of questions here that have never been answered. Now, if you go to a town hall, it was pointed out yesterday, an interesting aspect of the whole background story about the firearm that hasn't gotten any attention. So I'm going to mention it to you now because it says everything about what we know about the Bidens. Here's what happened. After Hunter Biden lied on a federal form background check from another crime for which he likely will avoid jail time again, he and his girlfriend's sister-in-law tossed the gun away in a dumpster by the school. Hunter tried to blame it on being stolen and some random Hispanics, calling them probably illegal. So he tries to pin this thing on some random group of Hispanics that, of course, didn't exist because he did it, or the girlfriend, sister-in-law did it, whatever the case. Now, again, people under criminal investigation will say all kinds of things, right, to get themselves off. And he may very well have done this. But the racist, inflammatory racism behind it, is it going to be ignored? Of course it's going to be ignored. But then again, I hate to do this. I really do. But let's play what about? What about if this was Donald Trump Jr., who tried to pin a crime on a couple of Hispanics? I mean, this is really remarkable. And again, this story will be underreported, if reported at all. But this is part of it. This goes back to, Joe Biden talking about when you go into a 7-Eleven, all you see are Indian people.
They're racist.
And calling Obama clean. I mean, these are the things. The racism rises to this level, and particularly in the day and age we live in now, where if you disagree with someone who doesn't look like you, you're labeled a racist. This guy just said it. He tried to pin a crime on a couple of Hispanics. What the heck?
Well, Scott, I've got some
yes.
audio that's really rich from Hunter Biden. It was detained on his laptop. You can see him clear as day on this video, and he's talking to the widow of Beau Biden.
His girlfriend.
His girlfriend, yes.
Yeah.
About rehab. And he's really upset that she calls him at 9 a.m. in the morning. It's like 10 seconds. It's real good audio. You ready?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go.
Well, I think we should discuss that while you're there.
Okay,
yeah.
But why did you call me at 9 o'clock in the morning to tell me that? On the morning that the Marine Dowd article comes out?
I didn't know about Marine Dowd.
Well, you did before you started talking to me,
You
Hallie.
wouldn't attack me, that you would be a bit more humble.
I did
but
not
I
attack
was wrong,
you.
and it pissed me off.
I didn't attack you.
You said I'm going to use against you.
No, I said to
and
you,
then
Hallie,
you said I haven't
I
been
don't want to
supportive.
give you information about
notice
this
I was being
program
supportive.
because
Okay.
I'm afraid that you'll use it against me as not being enough.
I can't keep talking. We're going to go round and round in
I'm not
circles.
arguing, Hallie. I'm asking you.
I don't know. I think we should schedule a visit and we'll talk with the therapist. I'm not going to continue to argue, and I don't want to talk and make things worse.
So then in this video, it's all caught on his laptop, right? And
Yeah.
he is in the middle of them talking about this program. It's a drug rehab program, and she calls him to talk about it. And he's upset that she's calling him at 9 a.m. in the morning. And he says, I don't want to talk about the program because whatever I say to you, you're going to use against me later on. Right. And then he starts smoking crack in the video while he's talking to her about the program that he's supposed to be going to. I think he's not going to it, and she wants to know what's going on with the program and if it's working. And in the video, he takes out a crack pipe and starts lighting up. It's like, wow.
I think the technical term is wake and bake.
Wake and bake.
Yeah, I think that's the technical term. Gosh dang.
Just Hunter Biden being Hunter Biden. That's the type of guy this is. I mean, that's what's going on.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And again, this you'll probably never know about any of this stuff because you'll never hear it anywhere. I mean, this is a guy talking about his addictions. And I mean, the evidence to me seems overwhelming, and we'll see where it goes. I know Comer's going to keep pushing the issue. And a lot of people are going to continue to push it because they should. But man, oh man. Also, did you see, I mean, Bud Light is trying to repair their image. You know that, right? I mean, we've seen it everywhere.
Yeah, and they're doing
Bud
a
Light,
great job.
Dylan Mulvaney in the tub with the Bud Lights and the transgender woman.
Normalize the bulge.
Normalize the bulge. But he right? I mean, he started this whole chain of events, right? I mean, Bud Light wanted to promote this. They thought they were this is going to be, wow, we're really cutting edge and it's going to help our marketing. And people who drink Bud Light are like, wait a minute, what are you doing? I don't want any association with this, right? Just let me drink my beer with my buddies and be done with it, right? #1 selling beer in America, by the way, Bud Light. Used to be. But it isn't anymore. So then Bud Light tries to backpedal, and they use all sorts of words without actually coming out and saying, hey, we're sorry we did this, right? We offended our base, and we don't want to do that, and blah, blah, blah. You can think whatever you want to about the ad, whatever. So then they try to make amends by putting a couple of ads out with the flag flying, and they got a bunch with people, having a good time around the pool and the campfire and all of that, and everybody's drinking their Bud Light, and everybody's happy. And so then over the weekend in Toronto, Canada, which, by the way, isn't exactly Siberia. I mean, we're going to know what goes on in Toronto, Canada. Bud Light sponsors the Pride Parade in Toronto. Now, you may be saying to yourself, yeah, but it's a Pride Parade, whatever. It's a Pride Parade, so they sponsored it, whatever. Well, again, is this something you would do in marketing if you were under fire for what they're under fire for? Probably not. However, let's leave all that aside. While the parade is going on, participants in the parade some were naked. Some of them were naked. What were they on bicycles? The naked people, or were they just walking? I can't remember.
That was in Seattle.
It was in Seattle where they were naked too,
on
right?
The bicycles. Yeah.
Yeah, on the bicycles. Well, they were naked. There's some nakedness going on all over the place. Then I saw the puppy patrol, dudes that think they're dogs, or play their dogs, and kids are there. It's a parade. Kids are there. Naked guys. It was insanity. And here comes the Bud Light float. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I mean, is this some sort of weird thing where you tank a brand and to rebuild and start over? I don't understand. So there they are. And again, children are there. I mean, and I stress this all the time because I feel like I have to. Just leave the kids alone. If you leave the kids alone, we can all coexist. But you got to leave the kids alone.
See, but they can't do that, Scott, because the whole goal is to go after the kids. As they chanted this weekend in New York City, they literally chanted, and I quote, "We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children." Like that's what they were chanting in New York City.
I mean, is that some sort of weird inflammatory thing to get attention?
Either way, it's not helping your cause.
Or is it revealing who you are? I don't know. Because, again, I know a lot of people, not a lot, but I have several people I know, several people in my family that are gay. Mm-hmm. And the idea that we're all supposed to get along and we're all supposed to be okay with everything can be achieved. I mean, if they live in peace and harmony and they want to have the same, the same rights as a couple, whatever, I'm like, okay, whatever. Not bothering me. But when you drag the kids into it and you do this kind of inflammatory stuff, and then you tell me that's not what you're doing, I have a hard time with that. And what's the deal with the dressing and the whole flagrantly, in your face kind of stuff? How is that winning any hearts and minds? I don't get it. Honestly, I don't get it.
In nature, things that are brightly colored are typically poisonous. So
Yeah.
naturally,
Wow, didn't even think about that. But
but
yeah,
the
it's
poisonous
just
frogs and stuff.
it's just a weird dynamic, and it makes me I'm weary with the whole thing. It's just, and maybe that's the idea. You just keep doing this stuff until you eventually tire people out, and they just are like, okay, whatever, can't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm. I find myself being less and less tolerant. Less. And less tolerant as time goes on.
Preaching tolerance. I've been tolerant. Tolerant didn't work. Tolerant didn't work. 100% right down the middle. You agree with me, and if you're not, you're a racist, bigot, whatever, homophobic, whatever. Like, my opinion differs. All right, that's it. All right, cat. I'll be off tomorrow. Just FYI.
I know, I'm sad, but you're gonna have fun.
Yeah,
nice day off.
Couple of appointments I got to do. Yeah, tomorrow, doctor's appointment. But anyway, I will catch up with you on Wednesday morning. Okay.
All right. See you later, Scott Robbins.
Talk to you later, Cat Mandu. See ya.
Cat is going to be back here on the other side. The Morning Buzz. Scott Robbins is later tonight at 8:00 for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And that's the show that will have you laughing so hard your stomach will hurt. That's at 8:00 on Cities 92.9. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. When we're back here in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be visiting with Jerry Vogler for today's Veterans Corner. Happens every Monday morning at about 8 o'clock. And then a little bit later, let's talk about it. What happened with this whole Prigozhin, Prigozhin is his name, and the Wagner Group in Russia. I think it was the most lame attempt at a coup d'etat that I've ever seen, which, I have a theory about this, folks, and I have some views on the actions here taken by Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Russia. And like I said, I don't think that this was an actual coup d'etat. I don't think that it was a serious attempt. I think that it was all theatrics. And I'm going to explain that here coming up in just a bit. And then we've also got Demi Lovato. I know you're like, why, Kat? Why do you talk about her? Well, she has this really woke, hardo pro-abortion anthem. This new pro-abortion anthem for all of the birthing people in America. And Saturday was the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court being on the right side of history and overturning Roe v. Wade. And if you live in pro abortion states like this one, Illinois, New York, California, nothing has really changed for you. People can get abortions up to 9 months here in the state of Illinois because it's disgusting and it's barbaric. But Demi Lovato, she is real big mad still about the Supreme Court ruling on overturning Roe v. Wade. And she tops the list here for these people who are upset that some birthing people can't get abortions at the 9th month in some states. So there's some states that have put some restrictions on it, and they're big mad about it. So she has an anthem for all of the birthing people who love getting abortions, and I'm going to be playing a little bit of her anthem here coming up. The reason why I want to show you the difference here between Demi Lovato's stupid little pro-abortion anthem and this new Focus on the Family Pro-Life ad. So this new Focus on the Family Pro-Life ad is actually really good because what it does is it illustrates the mental gymnastics that these abortion supporters have to go through to justify their views. Anyone who has a child or has someone who knows or has someone close to them who has had a child, right? They know the drill. There's excitement surrounding a new baby. First, it's the excitement about the pregnancy. It's the thrill of the unborn child, seeing the baby grow, the ultrasound, right? And then there's the celebration of birth. And then we continue to have birthdays, right? You celebrate your life every year with your birthday. So we have all of these celebrations, these celebratory cards, parties, and it's all about celebrating new life and the joy it brings us and the joy it brings the world. But then all of a sudden, if the baby isn't wanted, then the baby has no meaning. The baby is just a thing. It's just a fetus. It's just a clump of cells. So the only thing that's different here are the desires of the adults. I've got that ad coming up here in just a little bit. Clay County Superintendent of the VA is going to be joining me here next. Good morning, folks. Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to throw in the comments. How many kids do you have? Do you have children and nephews, nieces? Is there anything that that or any kind of child in your life? How many of them do you have in your life? Children that you watch, throw it in the comments in celebration of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, please. We've got Ryan. He's got 2 boys. We've got Mark here who said that he has 3 children. David says that he has 9 grandchildren, 2 boys. So, how many children do you have, and or nieces, nephews, grandbabies? Let me know in the comments. 9 grandkids. That's a lot of grandkids. We are going to be talking about Demi Lovato and her crappy song, pro-abortion supporters. It's terrifying where we are, where we celebrate abortion. It used to be, safe, legal, rare, right? But now we've gotten to a point where we are celebrating abortion and we aren't celebrating life anymore. Mike, he's got 3 children. Children are a blessing. Right. And we all know somebody who has children, or if not ourselves. Oh, you don't have 9. Oh, who has the 9 grandkids? I'm looking here. David has 9 grandkids. You have 3 kids, Mark, from what I understand. 3. And David has 9 grandkids. Yeah, so I have, let's count them up now. 3, 1. I have 4 nieces and nephews. I have a bunch of baby cousins. Um, yeah, we all know somebody who has children, right? Um, has children, and we celebrate life. Well, I mean, we even celebrate our own birthdays. And what's interesting is with this ad that I'm going to play for you here coming up in just a bit, they call attention to the fact that we don't call it a baby when it's inconvenient to us. So if the desire there to not have this baby is there, then all of a sudden the baby becomes a fetus. But we continue to call it a baby. Leftists too, they'll continue to call it a baby, or hey, congrats on your baby, or it's a boy, it's a girl, right when they actually have these babies and when they actually celebrate life, because the desire there is there to have the child. If the desire is not there, then all of a sudden the baby becomes a clump of cells, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, right? The only thing that is different, it's not the science of if that baby is a baby, it's the desire of the adult in those situations. So we are going to be talking about that, plus my thoughts here on the Ukraine uh, operation with the CIA is really what I'm calling it. I think the Prigozhin and Shigu, or whatever, they were in some kind of fight, I guess, fighting going on in Russia. And I don't think that it was an actual real coup d'etat at all. There was no actual attempt to take Moscow or to overthrow Putin, like a lot of these war hawks were suggesting. Adam Kinsinger was out there and he's like, oh my gosh, Russia could be taken overnight. And it's like, come on. Um, so I will be back with my theories on that here coming up shortly. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I'm there if you want to see me live in studio. This hour, we are going to be talking about Demi Lovato, her and her HARDO new pro-abortion anthem for all the birthing people of America. She drops this 16-second clip on Twitter, and she does this because Saturday was the 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court being on the right side of history and overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, if you live in some pro-abortion states like New York, California, right here in Illinois, nothing has really changed for you. But there are still some birthing people out there who have yet to calm down about the whole overturning of Roe v. Wade, giving it up to the states to decide where they lie on abortion. And at the top of the list of these people who are big mad still about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, Demi Lovato. So she releases this new pro-abortion anthem. We're going to get to that next. New focus, the new focus on the family. Pro-life ad is hysterical. It's funny, yet it's very profound, very deep. And it speaks to the hypocrisy of people when they refer to babies as fetuses, you know, when their desire for that baby is not there. But when there is a desire for the baby, then all of a sudden it's a baby. Right? You call it a baby when you want to celebrate the life and you decide you're going to have it. But then all of a sudden, if you don't want the baby and your desire is not there for this baby, then all of a sudden it's a clump of cells and it means nothing. But if your desire, the only thing that's different here is your desire to have that baby or to not have that baby. So I want to talk about this being that it is the 1-year anniversary. It was on Saturday, the 1-year anniversary of overturning Roe v. Wade. Then a little bit later, my reaction here to the actions done by Prigozhin and the Wagner Group, in Russia. I have a view on it, and I have a theory. It was the most lamest attempt, I think, at a coup d'etat that I've ever seen. I think this 6.2 billion accounting error by the United States, right, when we had to send $6.2 more billion to Ukraine. I have a feeling that $6.2 billion went to this Prigozhin to try to commit some sort of insurrection against the Russian government and overthrow Putin. Now, us, the United States, clearly we knew that Prigozhin wasn't going to be able to do this military leader. He wasn't going to be able to overthrow Russia or Putin. But we wanted to kind of pay him to kind of create some sort of illusion and illustration that Putin can't control his own military ranks because we want to paint Putin as some sort of weak guy. But in the end, what happened was Prigozhin was in on it. He informed Putin, hey, they're going to pay me $6.2 billion to do some sort of coup d'etat. I'm not actually going to do a coup d'etat, but we're going to pretend like we are. And then we're going to pocket the $6.2 billion. So essentially what happened was the United States government with the CIA and President Zelensky, they got together and they paid the Russian army. They just wasted a bunch of money and gave it to the Russian army. That's my theory here, folks. And I'll tell you why here coming up in just a little bit. But right now on the line with me, Jerry Vogler from the McLean County VA. We are going through it. Veterans Corner. We do it every Monday morning at about 8 a.m. Today, there's a question rolling in. How does VA health care compare to non-VA hospitals? So can you get treatment at a non-VA hospital with VA healthcare? Can you answer this question for us, Jerry Vogler, the VA superintendent here in McLean County?
VA healthcare is really kind of unique in that they are constantly surveying use of third-party surveying on a national basis and local basis to find out what's going well, what's not going well, and then try to fix those that aren't doing well. And the newest survey that has come out is one that's run by Medicare. And they use a 1 to 5 star rating, like most surveys use some type of numerical rating. And what they found out was that between July of 2021 and June of 2022, that 72% of the VA hospitals received 4 or 5 stars for overall hospital rating, compared to only 48% of those non-VA hospitals that were surveyed. They use the surveys extensively. There's a trust report that they use. And for the second quarter, which had been January, February, and March of fiscal year 2023, 90% of the veterans who get their health care from VA trust the VA for their health care. And that's reflective of 560,000 surveys. So it's not just a hit and miss light survey. That's an improvement of almost 2% over the previous quarter, and a 24% improvement based on trust since 2016. And the history of the VA is that after each war, it does fairly well. And then if we don't have another war, services and funding and all that sort of thing go down. And that happened especially with the Vietnam era, because it went for so long a period. A lot of veterans, because of the way they felt that they were perceived and treated when they came back home, did not get involved in VA healthcare and didn't have a good reputation at all. Today, it's top ranked, and it's on the cutting edge of technology and process and procedures on how to make the care better.
Awesome. Well, also for our Veterans Corner today, I wanted to run through the VA is the world's leading research and educational center of excellence on PTSD and traumatic stress. So tell me about research and education surrounding PTSD, and the VA is behind a lot of cutting edge research when it comes to PTSD and treatments, right?
Exactly. Between PTSD and TBI, traumatic brain injury research and development, the VA is ahead of everybody. Now, they do work with private vendors and private research companies and that sort of thing. But because they have such a large number of PTSD patients and traumatic brain injury patients because of war, they have a select group that they can go to try different techniques to see what works best. And then they roll that out not only to VA facilities, but also to the general public hospitals and so forth. So they're top notch, and they are very much into these new holistic approaches of retreats, special therapies, equine therapy, reading therapy, guitar therapy, as a way to help with the symptoms until the veteran can properly be able to manage their post-traumatic stress symptoms.
I see. Now, another thing that I want to hit here on Veterans Corner, we're talking with Jerry Vogler on Cities 92.9. He's from the McLean County Vets. Currently, veterans with fewer than 20 years of service and disability rating of less than 50% have their retirement pay reduced by $1 for every dollar of disability pay they get. So can you explain this to me, this process that's referred to as a concurrent receipt?
Yeah, and actually that's a misnomer because it's non-concurrent receipt. Right now, if you do not have enough years of military service to draw a pension, in other words, you got to have 20 years, and you become disabled from being able to serve any longer in the military because of combat injuries, then you would be able to get a VA type of service-connected disability rating and income from that. And then on top of that, you would be able to receive military retirement pay. However, they're mutually exclusive. Now, the veterans organizations and everybody concerned with it, we all feel that that's totally unfair. Veterans organizations have lobbied for years to get this. It came within an inch of passing last summer, but because it was an election year and it only affected about 50,000 retirees, the PACT Act was passed, shoved ahead of it in line, which had affected hundreds of thousands of men and women who served. This year, once again, it's in the Armed Services Committee in the House. They expect it to pass, but we're getting toward the summer ending of the congressional session, and hopefully it'll get passed during this period of time. The problem is they want all this legislation to always be, quote, paid for, unquote. It never is, but that's what they want. And with this makes concurrent receipt type payments mandatory, such as Social Security funding, Medicare funding, and that sort of thing. All VA spending right now is discretionary, which means they can fund it or not. And that's what the big holdup is right now.
I see. Now, Jerry, we are getting close to the break. Can you tell us about our quote of the day for Veterans Corner?
Well, America seems to be divided into non-cohesive, self-indulged groups of victims based on ethnic, racial, gender, political ideology, and a myriad of other characteristics that can only focus on their victimhood and not on their own responsibility. And my question is, whatever happened to America, the melting pot, where we all recognize what a great place this is to live, and the opportunities are there if we take responsibility to work hard and do what we should do in order to get ahead. Thomas Sowell, the great economic guru from, I believe, George Mason University, has this to say about it. To believe in personal responsibility would be to destroy the whole special role of the anointed, whose vision casts them in the role of rescuers of people treated unfairly by society, unquote. And that's why we have a very difficult time getting people together, because the appointed rulers of all these different groups realize that their power comes from everybody having to go through them in order to be successful, and not simply use the opportunities provided by our country.
I love it. Jerry Vogler, nice quote of the day. And folks, don't miss the Veterans Corner on cities929.com. Jerry, you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, folks. Speaking of what Jerry was saying there, he's talking about the victimhood. Bud Light has lost $27 billion since the Dylan Mulvaney ad. Target has lost $15 billion in market cap since the Pride boycott began. Then we also have Disney losing $890 million at the box office on their last 8 releases. The NHL has banned LGBTQ team jerseys. And folks, we have officially made Pride toxic. I love it. Pride in your victimhood, right? That was the quote of the day. So I am going to be back here on the Morning Buzz next. Good morning. All right. So we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about Adam Kinzinger and this tweet that he put out there. He says all the people, all blue checks, are celebrating this MAGA assault on federal officers. Now, what's interesting here is that he points out that these people are federal officers. He said the quiet part out loud. Now, I don't know. This is what he says. Now, I don't know what this really is, but take a gander at the comments of the patriots who love America. So there's this video out here, and I will share my screen with you of some MAGA rally goers. They were there attending a rally, and here is what it looked like. There were some people dressed in these black coats, khakis, some masks, and they were allegedly a part of some sort of Patriot Front group, which is a white nationalist group or whatever, white supremacy. And as you can see, the rally goers were using American flags, and they were pushing these people back, telling them to get the heck out of there. Of course, I'm using less colorful language. They were very much not happy with these Patriot Front-like characters, these MAGA people. And they said, get out of here. We don't want you around here. And they decided to unmask a lot of these people. And that led to these feds being very scared about the whole unmasking of themselves. And then we have Adam Kinzinger coming out and calling these people federal officers. The concerning thing here is should be that Adam Kinzinger isn't talking about why federal officers would be at a protest and trying to engage MAGA Republicans or MAGA rally goers. This is really concerning that Adam Kinzinger said the quiet part out loud here, and he said that these people were federal officers. You should be asking yourself, why in the world would federal officers be at a rally like this? So we're going to be talking about that. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Hey, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. You can be a part of the show by texting in to 309-451-9299. You can see me live in the studio on Facebook and on YouTube first. Woke HARDO, DEMI LOVATO dropping this new abortion anthem for all the birthing people of America out there. And I know your ears are going to bleed when I play for you her new pro-abortion anthem called Swine. So then we're going to cleanse the palate a bit, and we're going to move on to this new Focus on the Family pro-life ad, and it's hysterical, it's funny, but it's also profound, it's very deep. It talks about the issue of people and their desires, and how when their desires change surrounding the birth of a child, they'll call the baby something different. So you'll call it a fetus if your desire for that baby is, I don't want to have this. If you don't want the baby, right, then you're going to call it a fetus. But if you want the baby, then all of a sudden you call it a baby. So I'm going to talk about the ad. It's very good. Then I've got some views on the actions done by Prigozhin. Prigozhin is his name, and he's a military leader in Russia. And he led the Wagner Group, in Russia. And everybody was saying that this was some sort of coup d'etat. They were going to try to dethrone or overthrow Putin. This was not that. I have some views on this. I also have a theory. And it was the most lame attempt, really, of a coup d'etat that I have ever seen. So let's get started on this 1-year anniversary of the Supreme Court being on the right side of history here and overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, this happened on Saturday. It was the 1-year anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, if you live in Illinois, you live in a pro-abortion state, so nothing has changed much for you. It's just the overturning of Roe v. Wade gives it up to the states to decide what they're going to do about abortion. So there is still some birthing people out there. They're big mad, big upset that we have and they have yet to calm down about it, that we have overturned Roe v. Wade. Now we have Demi Lovato with this new pro-abortion anthem, and I'm going to play a little bit of it here for you, and you're missing out if you're not on the live stream because you get to see it. Demi Lovato on Twitter posting a 16-second clip of this new song called Swine. Yes, it's called Swine, and that's her words, not mine, folks. The one who titled it. Like the 16 seconds. That was cool. So it's titled Swine. Basically says this. It's been over a year since the Supreme Court dismantled the constitutional right to safe abortion. There is nowhere in the Constitution that guarantees the right to an abortion. There's just not. It's not there. So I want this song to empower not only the birthing people of this country, but everyone who stands up for equality. Gosh, she's so annoying, Lovato. You sure? Bang my head against the wall. Look, this video, this music, sure, maybe it's gonna be a hit on TikTok with the leftists. So live there on TikTok. But yeah, I don't see this surviving this song. Maybe in half empty WNBA games there. But let's take a listen. I'm gonna just quote this, and I'm gonna try to be as easy as possible with this because it's riddled with how leftists roll. They have this song. Here's the lyric: God forbid I want to suck whatever the belief I want. God forbid I want to believe whoever the belief I want. And if believe, I guess I gotta be a mother. What? Now everyone's singing along with the chorus because these are beautiful. It's just a ballad. The lyrics, they're just so full of passion, depth, just straight talent. My blood, my loins, my lungs, my noise. It's mine, where I'm just wow. All right, she's known for some pop hits like Confident, Heart Attack. Wow. So then she decided to if you pronoun stuff. And then in 2022, she decided that, or they decided, them was really a she her, so she was still gender fluid, so she decided to go back to she her pronoun. And then in 2023, she explained that the reason why she didn't go by they them pronouns was difficult, and she was back to her. The mental gymnastics going on with this woman are clearly disturbed woman. But look, in good news, Roe v. Wade being overturned, there was an ad released by this foundation, the faith-based organization. It's called Protocol Family. They dropped this very powerful 1-minute video that perfectly captures the hypocrites of the Muslim crowd by illustrating they celebrate indeed. If not, then they see. So I'm going to play this here for you on the other side. I do have to take a break, but we'll run through that. Plus, my take here on Prigozhin and the Wagner Group in Russia and how they were going to attempt a coup d'etat. A lame attack. I have a theory. I'm learning about. Friends, thanks so much for tuning in to the live stream. Comment below. How many children do you have? Here of the Roe v. Wade overturning. I would like to see that your comments here. How many children you have, and what you have. Now we are to be back about Russia. Bottom line, an attempt by CIA, Ukraine, as Zelensky tried to get Putin to look like he doesn't have control over his people, right, over his Russian military, and they wanted it to look like there was like and clearly we know that that's true because if that were to happen, most likely Prigozhin, the guy who created the data, the guy who in charge of probably wouldn't have his life right now. He's living and he's not trusted. Why is that? Because like Prigozhin and then he was approached by the CIA paid for the students who they thought they were being out of the accounting error. Remember, because of accounting error, and more. Right? If you're walking right now, smash the like button. Shut up! It's equity. Naked adults exposing themselves to children in Seattle. That happened. Grown men getting off their bicycles. Children and nurses. They're way, way, way. Children. That's what was going on in Seattle. That was in the United States. So here we have gay pride celebrations. Um, well, right, that testing. The sound is we should humble any proud boy or any white nationalist. So that's exactly what was happening. Testing 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Let me know. They say that the sound is dropping in and out. Very peculiar. Sorry. I've had sound all morning. Hey. Oh, when I start talking about Russia. Let me see. Here. Okay, let's see if this works. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you are watching. If the sound cutting out again. Stream, but we'll see if the sound has fixed up. Great. The sound might be all right now. All 40. See if this is fixed. Not tune in via app. That is a good place to go. Go pray and when we come back, we're going to be talking about using her. I wonder why this testing. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I think my audio has been removed. Three zero 945192999. You can text in and you can watch me live in the studio. You might be having some issues with the whole Facebook. I might be getting booted off for about gay pride stuff and hatred towards the children. It's so funny. I get removed off Facebook because I call attention to that stuff and I say, hey, there's nudity happening at these gay pride parades around children, and then Facebook boots me off for drawing attention to it. And it's like, wait a second, is Facebook bigot because they're not being out loud about these people who are children? So Facebook has been dropped me. So I don't know. There might be some sound issues. You can always download app. Great place for you to stream. Now, before I took a break, I was talking a little bit about this ad. This ad is awesome in that they talked about how there is some mental gymnastics that happen to these hypocrites of the abortion crowd, and they only illustrate how they celebrate life and it's convenient for them, and when their desire to have a baby is there, then they'll say it's safe. Then they'll say it's safe is safe. And then all of a sudden, if you don't want the baby becomes a fetus to these people. So here I have on YouTube the ad itself, and the ad itself is from Focus on the Family. They are a faith-based organization, and they came out with this 1-minute ad, and it's called Kids the Baby. And it's truly genius how it's hysterical, and it's deep, and it's profound. So let's take a listen to the ad.
Well,
It's positive.
well,
It's positive. We're having a fetus.
having a fetus.
We're having a fetus.
And here we are.
Would you look at that?
Hi, fetus.
Hey, got names yet?
For the fetus? We've got a few we like.
Focus on the Family would like to remind you that no matter where you are on your pregnancy journey,
It's almost here. Keep pushing. Your fetus is doing great.
Call it what you want. But the truth does not change.
You want to feel the fetus kick? It's a baby.
It's still a baby.
There you have it. That ad coming out short for the 1-year anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And the video is smart, it's funny, and it's incredibly powerful in exposing the truth. No matter how much linguistic juggling you try to go through, the reality behind every fetus that's aborted is that that is actually a baby who never got to be born or live a life. And, I love it. In the ad, you can see some scenes here where, a pregnant woman uh, with she's got a positive test and she goes, it's positive. And then there goes the zinger. We're having a fetus. Nobody ever says that, right? And then there's her grandma and she opens up a card and it says, we're having a fetus. And, it's like we celebrate life when it's convenient. And when our desire to have that baby is there, and we'll call it a baby when our desires are there and nothing changes, right? The baby is still a baby, even if your desires change and you don't want the baby, right? Uh, and the reason why the ad works so well is because it illustrates the mental gymnastics these abortion supporters go through to try to justify their views. Anyone who's had a child or has been close to someone who has had a child, they know the drill. I mean, there's excitement surrounding the pregnancy, there's a celebration of birth. Heck, we even celebrate our own birthdays every year, right? And it's all about celebrating new life, except when that baby isn't wanted. Then all of a sudden, we call it a fetus and it's expendable, it's worthless, it's a burden, and it's just a clump of cells. Yet in both cases, the baby to be is the one constant. Its essence remains the same. It's only the desires of the adults that are different in these two scenarios where people call it a fetus or they call it a baby. So the video, it's smart, it's powerful, and I really like it. And happy celebration. I mean, this is a celebration. The overturning of Roe v. Wade is just one small step for life and uh, for giving power and giving a voice to the voiceless, which is the unborn. Now, I do want to get into this whole power struggle between Prigozhin, the Wagner Group in Russia, and Shogu. So first, I'm going to play out this scenario, which in which I thought was going on, and then I'm going to give you a theory here. So my view on the actions of Prigozhin. So Prigozhin is a military leader in Russia. He's not as big as Shogu. Shogu is the military leader who is in charge of the defense ministry. So he's very high up there. And this started as a power struggle between Prigozhin and Shogu. So we have Prigozhin and Shogu. And at the beginning of a special military operation, we've got Shogu, who's the defense ministry leader. He and his team making mistakes. So they made mistakes in some sort of military operation, and Prigozhin, this military leader, became a very strong critic of Shogu. So Prigozhin had success in Bakhmut with the Wagner Group, this ragtag group of military soldiers of Russian shoulders, and he was trying to present himself as a better military leader than Shogu. Now, in my view, this is what happened. Shogu then provoked Prigozhin because Prigozhin was very much a strong critic of Shogu. Shogu, what he wound up doing was withholding and limiting, because he is the defense ministry head, he was limiting ammunition supplies to Bakhmut, resulting in the Wagner Group having some losses. And that created a strong reaction from Prigozhin. Okay, so many of you have seen this video. There's a video out there of Prigozhin attacking Shogu and the military Russian leadership. So there's this video where he's very hot-headed and he's all upset. So eventually what happened, Shogu did wind up restoring those ammunition deliveries, and it led to a victory in Bakhmut. And that didn't go without this video outburst, though. And Prigozhin, ever since that video outburst where he was fighting with these military leaders and Shogu, over this ammunition delivery, it was very counterproductive for him because Kremlin and the senior political leaders in Moscow, they began to see him as some sort of loose cannon, right? And they were like, why would he go up against the defense ministry head? He can't be trusted. Okay, so he was on thin ice. So Prigozhin doubled down and he predicted all kinds of massive losses for the Russian military, claiming that they weren't ready for the Ukrainian counteroffensive. And he claimed that the Russian troops were badly equipped and poorly managed by Shoigu, the defense ministry head. So he has some sort of power issue. It's a struggle for power between Prigozhin and Shoigu, these two military heads. Now, with the Russian military successfully repelling the Ukrainian counteroffensive, this they did, Prigozhin had played himself into a corner and this time was running out because Shoigu and his generals delivered a major victory for the Kremlin. So he had his ego hurt because he was saying, oh, Russia won't make it. The military, they're not equipped, they're poorly managed. And then they had this victory. And then it kind of like, oh boy, now he's trying to save face. So he lost in this power struggle against Shoigu, and he was likely facing some serious retaliation for this power struggle that he was having with Shoigu. This does not mean that Prigozhin was trying to do some sort of coup d'etat, insurrection-y type stuff. He just had an issue with this military general in the defense ministry, and he let his power get the best of him, right? And his ego get the best of him. Western media claimed that this was a coup against Putin. That's nonsense. It was the popularity with Putin in Russia and the non-Western world has never been higher. Okay, Russia is very nationalist. Russians are very pro-Putin. It's because of years of conditioning that this evil authoritarian leader, thug Putin, has brainwashed people into believing that Russia is better than God himself. Right? That's what these nationalists believe. And this was a war between Prigozhin and Shoigu. And what it was an unwelcome distraction for the Kremlin, and most likely the outcome would have been arrest or termination here by Prigozhin. But wait a second, he's not dead and he wasn't terminated. So this leads me to believe a different theory. So after doing all of this, even though he didn't really do a coup d'etat, right, and he just got into this fight with this other Russian military leader who he disagreed with, Shoigu, that still is grounds for Russian Putin dictator to chop off your head, dude, because you can't do that. He's the defense ministry head, and you can't sit there and try to undermine him. Okay, so why did Putin not terminate him? Why did he not kill Prigozhin? Well, I have a theory, and I have to take a break, but I'm going to wrap this up with that theory. Why wasn't Prigozhin killed? It leads me to believe that this was just, wasn't over a big spat between Prigozhin and Shoigu, but rather the CIA and Zelensky were paying Prigozhin to come up and try to start some sort of insurrection to attack Moscow. Perhaps they paid him with this accounting error money, the $6.2 billion that we sent to Ukraine. Remember the accounting error? But Prigozhin might have informed Putin and Shoigu about the U.S. and the CIA and the Zelensky paying Prigozhin to try to cause this unruly insurrection. So I'm going to be back. I'm going to explain this further. All right. So I don't know if y'all can hear me, but here we are getting to your comments. No matter what these people call the child, it is a human soul, a baby. It's a shame that this is going on in our nation. Love the video. Then we also have Mike letting me know if you can hear me. Please let me know in the comments here if you can hear me. If we're still having audio issues, that will help me out to know if I'm having audio issues. when I'm off the air. So let me know in the comments. But when we come back, we're going to continue my theory here when it comes to Prigozhin and this whole Russian the coup d'etat, which was really bad, and that like it wasn't even a coup d'etat. So I'm going to talk about that here coming up in just a little bit. I think it was the CIA, President Zelensky, working together to try to pay this guy to be unruly and to kind of cause almost an insurrection. And Prigozhin, what he did was say, "Hey, Putin, these guys want to pay me this money. What do we do?" And he says, "Oh, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna play this out and we're gonna pocket the money." And at the end of the day, who's left holding the bag? It's gonna be you. It's gonna be the United States and Ukraine because they wasted money on this. They said, "Hey, let's do a coup d'état," and it was a poor a coup d'etat, right? So basically what happened, it was like a couple of old tanks, a couple of dozen trucks carrying a couple hundred disorderly soldiers who were in these like uniforms that were ill-fitting. They weren't even fitted right. And it was like a parade that was escorted by the National Guard of Russia to Rostov. And Prigozhin pretended to occupy the city of Rostov. And then he had a chat with a couple of military generals, and after which he and his motley group of insurrectionists drove away again, not occupying Rostov. They didn't go to Moscow. So now Putin says they're all in very big trouble, the Wagner Group and Prigozhin, but they haven't been dealt with promptly or harshly like Putin said he was going to do. So I think it was all a show. This seems like a show that went down. Kind of like the show that we went through Sunday to Thursday with these guys who were, allegedly in this submarine knocking on the windows and stuff like that. I think it's so funny. Somebody's like, Joe Biden had nothing to do with that. And it's like, the United States military is at the behest of the president of the United States, which I just think is really funny. All right, so we're going to be back and explaining my little theory I have here in studio. So it was like a couple of tanks, it was a couple of trucks carrying a couple of hundred disorderly soldiers in these ill-fitting uniforms, and it was the most lame attempt of a coup d'etat if I've ever seen one. And it was basically a parade that was escorted by the National Guard into Rostov, which is, yeah, I think it's south of Moscow. My geography is very bad, but it's not really super close to Moscow. So Prigozhin pretended to occupy the city of Rostov, and he had a chat with a couple of generals, and after which he and his motley group of the Wagner Group of insurrectionists, they drove away. So they did not overthrow Putin like everybody was saying that was going to happen. Putin said that they're all in very big trouble because they've done this now, and that they're going to be promptly and harshly dealt with. But he hasn't killed him. He hasn't arrested him, Prigozhin, and that leads me to believe that perhaps the CIA in the United States paid Prigozhin to try to be an insurrectionist, right? And Prigozhin didn't follow through with it, and in fact informed Putin and Shogu that this was what was going down, and they're all $6.2 billion. You remember the accounting error, the monies, the $6.2 billion that we sent to Ukraine. So Prigozhin informed Putin and Shogu of these plans, and they all became $6.2 billion richer, and they put on a show, and they pretended like the Wagner Group carried out this mission that they were tasked with by the CIA and President Zelensky. I think that this is a very credible theory. It checks out because, look, folks, why did Prigozhin not die for something like this, right? If it was a coup d'etat, if it was a bad attempt at a coup d'etat, if it was just him, and I thought originally it was just this guy, Prigozhin and Shogu, they were, having a peeing contest, right? And they were challenging each other's masculinity, as Russians do. And what was going on there was just kind of between them. All in all, I don't think it was an actual coup d'etat. It wasn't like he was trying to overthrow Putin at all, this Prigozhin and the Wagner Group. I don't think it was a coup d'etat at all. If anything, it was just kind of a spat between Prigozhin and Shogu because they were, well, my military's better. My way of doing these military operations is better. No, my way is doing it better. I'm going to withhold ammunitions from you, Prigozhin, if you don't bend the knee to my military operation. So there was just a infighting kind of going on. That's what I originally thought. But the fact that they didn't kill Prigozhin bothers me. And I'm like, wait a second, why would Putin, an authoritarian thug, not kill somebody for either one, a coup d'etat, or B, A, coup d'etat, B, spatting with his defense ministry head? 309-451-9299, your thoughts on the whole thing. Go ahead, text them in 309-451-9299. I will be back tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. It was great hanging out with you this Monday morning. Catch Glenn Beck, Dan Bongino, and Sean Hannity up next.